Thanks for tuning into The Frequency right here on the Black Star Network. I'm your host, Dee Barnes. Now, you may be wondering, what's The Frequency? It's a new show right here where we platform, have good conversations, discussions, debates, current events, hot topics, and issues of concern to Black America with a particular focus on all things impacting women. And also it's the 50th anniversary of hip hop. So I want to do something called the Legacy Series where we, platform women of the culture. And to kick that off, I have my first guest. She's an MC, a recording artist, a hip hop historian, broadcast journalist, and an entrepreneur. Welcome, welcome, the Poetess. Started. What's up? What's up? Welcome to The Frequency. It's your host, Dee Barnes. And today I want to do something really special because it's, the anniversary of hip hop, the 50th anniversary. And I want to really platform women of the culture. And what I have right now for you is so special. This is an MC, recording artist, hip hop historian, radio broadcaster, and businesswoman. The Poetess. Welcome, Poetess.
Hey, hey. Hi.
Hey. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You are my first guest for this Hip Hop 50 series, and I want to thank you. I'm so honored to have you.
I'm so honored to be here. Thank you, Dee, for inviting me.
Of course, of course. I want to get into your whole history and your contributions to the culture because a lot of people are familiar with you, but I first want to start with your father, your inspiration, the legendary Johnny Morris, who was, a radio broadcaster himself. So I want to talk about his history, and can you walk us through his career?
I think my dad had a love for radio and broadcasting since a child. He would take apart radios and TVs at his grandparents' house. And he, at the age of 9 or 10, he was studying tech manuals. And he built his first actual radio station in the garage of his grandparents in Fresno. And he was able to actually transmit music from blocks away. People were even calling into his grandmother's home to make requests. So
wow.
He got his first professional radio gig at the age of 16. And
wasn't it true that he got his first gig at the age of 16?
Yes.
Wasn't it true that the musical genius himself, Sly Stone, gave him his first on-air nickname?
Yeah, his moniker. Yeah. He worked with Sly Stone in the mid 60s. And Sly gave him his radio moniker, Ronnie Dark. And they've been friends up until, my dad passed. They've been friends, lifelong friends. In fact, Sly introduced my mom and dad. So shout out to Sly Stone. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I did not know that.
Yeah,
okay,
Sly,
so
at a radio station picnic, he invited my mom, invited my dad, and introduced the two.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, so what's your earliest memory of hearing him on the air? Like hearing him on radio,
I think it was like 5 years old that I remember, because I remember when we would visit him at the station, he would try to get me to do station promos. So he'd be there saying, say, KDIA Lucky 13, can you dig it?
What?
Age away, but yeah. And so I was so shy, but he would eventually get me to do it, and you could hear my little promos on the air at 5 and 6 years old. So
wow. Do you still have any of those recordings?
Man, I wish. Yeah.
That's beautiful. So did that inspire you to, listening to him, did that inspire you to want to do the same, to get into media?
Not right away. I wanted to be. He took me to my first concert when I was 10 years old, and that was Parliament Funkadelic and Bootsy
Yes.
and Millie Jackson and a bunch of greats. And
Wow.
my little mind was blown. I was like, I want to be on that stage. I think I wanted to more so be an entertainer than
Right.
actually a media person. So, but I wanted to start out as an engineer, actually, as a studio engineer. So I took electronics in high school and a few years in college. But when I moved to LA and started going to sessions, because my dad was also a studio engineer, he was a broadcast engineer, he was studio engineer. So I went to a couple sessions with him, and I was like,
Right.
this is kind of boring. So yeah.
Okay. So what was your first like on air job, your first radio job?
My first radio job, shout out to Lee Bailey from Radio Scope. He gave me my first radio gig in 1989 on Hip Hop Countdown and Report. And that's when I really started having an interest in radio. This was
Right.
syndicated and it was pre recorded. So it wasn't like, it was live radio at that point. So
Right.
that was my first gig in radio. I
Mhm.
was already an MC and I was rapping then, so I guess
Oh,
they
you
figured,
were?
yeah. So I was rapping before I actually got into radio. So I guess they figured I was a hip hopper and that I would be a good host. So
Of
they
course.
invited me to be a host right along with Mike Mosby, and that also got me into journalism. I started doing interviews and putting programming together,
Mhm.
all with that start with Lee Bailey.
So you were actually producing the shows,
I was doing a lot of the interviews in the
just a lot
beginning.
of the interviews. Were
Mhm.
they mostly hip hop because it was the hip hop countdown, or did you
Yeah,
did you broaden
definitely
it out?
mostly hip hop, and a lot of the interviews I still have today. So yeah, so
Yes.
mostly hip hop, but I've interviewed R&B artists as well, actors and
Mhm.
actresses at that point, and yeah,
Okay.
so that was my first start in radio.
Mhm.
But I have to put a little insert in there. My mom actually told me I was conceived on a radio station in San Francisco. So I was like,
What?
I was probably pretty destined to be in
Oh, for
radio,
sure.
whether I knew it or not. But
It's all in your DNA.
it
It's
is
all
all
in
in
your
my
DNA.
DNA, literally. And turns out it was radio has been my life too. And I just loved being on air. I just loved having a career in radio.
That's interesting because I always thought that the radio came first, even though you've done, I knew you were doing like poetry, and then
Mhm.
you were doing rhymes. But for some reason, I thought that everything with the radio came first. So I definitely want to talk to you about, like, when did you fall in love with hip hop,
I
and when
felt
did you know you wanted to be an MC?
I I knew I wanted to be an MC. I think when I heard Boogie Down Productions, I was just
Word.
in love with the Criminal Minded album. And then actually when I moved to LA in
Mhm.
85 from the Bay Area, I started hanging around with people that were in rap at the time because
Right.
I don't really when I
That's
was
how
in the
we cross
Bay Area,
paths.
yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Def Jam. Shout out to
Yeah.
Def Jam.
Yeah.
Um, I wasn't really into hip hop in the Bay Area because it didn't seem like it was really a lot of hip hop going on at the not that I knew of. I was
Right.
still young, but I was still hanging out, but I didn't really know if hip hop was really popping in the Bay. But when I got to LA, there was a whole scene out here already bubbling. I think the first rappers, professional big rappers I met was the LA Dream Team and Egyptian Lover
Oh,
and
yes.
um, And then Ice-T even through
Oh,
Jeff. Jeff was
yep.
affiliated with Rhyme Syndicate, and then of
I
course
have a
you
memory. I'm
Road.
sorry to cut. I gotta interject. I have a memory of you throwing Def Jeff a surprise birthday party, and we
Yes.
were all together at your place, and Ice T was
Yeah.
there. I remember that. I
Yeah.
remember you. And it
Yeah.
was such a like hip hop is such a community. You know what I mean? And we all get together. We're gonna get into all of that. We're gonna take a break. We'll be right back with the Poetess. We're gonna get into the love of hip hop, and her career as an artist and her first album. We'll be back in Frequency.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home. You dig?
Back right now with the Frequency with the Poetess. We were just talking about the love of hip hop and sharing memories back in the day and how hip hop is such a community. When did you get your recording contract, and how wasn't it difficult, or was it difficult being a woman and trying to be taken seriously and get that recording contract?
Um, I did a lot of performing and just a lot of writing. I was actually inspired by Lisa Love. She was the girl in the LA Dream Team that said, "Yes,
Right.
we're here.
That's
The
right.
Dream Team is here." But a lot of people didn't know that Lisa Love was a brilliant rapper from New York. I mean, she was incredible. When we did hook
Wow.
up, she would tell me her rhymes, and I'd be like, "Wow, why aren't they letting this beautiful sister out in front doing this?" Like she would have
Right.
came back then. But unfortunately, she was killed in a car accident, and I felt like I wanted to carry on. So as you mentioned, I wrote poems. So I started putting my poems to beats. And I knew a producer in the Bay Area that helped me with my first demos, which were trash.
Well, all of our first demos were trash. Don't worry about it. All of them were trash. How
Yeah,
did
and
you
then I
navigate?
go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was saying, how did you navigate your career? Like, what did you do with the demos, and how did you shop your deal?
Well,
How did you pursue?
my stepbrother was going to school with, I think, Jeff's cousin, Joe.
Hmm.
And he kept saying, "You got to meet this guy, Jeff. You got to meet this. He's funny. He's a dope producer, blah, blah, blah." So I met Jeff. I played my demo for him. He let me know right away it was whack.
Yes.
And
Been there.
he started writing some stuff for me, but then I started writing my own stuff after a while. And Jeff was my mentor, and he kind
Mhm.
of, helped me to become a better writer, a better MC. So he did demos for me. We shopped them around. It was a while before I can he ended up getting a deal before I did with Delicious.
Right.
And so my good friend Jerry Davis, who was at ASCAP at the time, got a label deal with Interscope Poetic Groove, and he signed me. In fact, it was either me or Cypress Hill, and he chose me. But shout out
Wow.
to Cypress Hill because they
Shout
flew
out to
us.
Cypress Hill, the homies. So
They flew
Poetic.
us.
What was the label again? The label was
Poetic Groove with
Poetic
Jerry.
Groove, which was Interscope Records, and you were the first female rapper signed to Interscope. What is
Yeah.
it like being the first? Like, what are the advantages and disadvantages of being the first?
I'll
I know.
I'll start with the disadvantage. They didn't know what to do with female MCs at that time. They didn't know how to market my music. So a lot of that stuff, me and my family took in our own hands. We did our own retail runs, lined up my own gigs. So at the time, they didn't really know how to market my music.
Right.
The advantages was I got to do an album and hear my music on the radio and travel around the country. So
That's right.
it was a good time. It was a fun time, and I'm glad that I was able to achieve that with a major label. I was label mates with Tupac and Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch and Gerardo at the
Wow.
time. So
And you
they
didn't
just
get a
didn't know what
chance
to
to
do with it.
yeah, they didn't know what to do. And you had to do a lot of it on your own.
Yeah,
So just like it just helps you, build your business savvy even more, I'm
yeah,
sure.
yeah. It was
The
fun. I
name of
have
the
no
album,
regrets.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry, say it again.
I said I have no regrets. It was all
That's
good.
right. That's right. Everything's a learning lesson.
Mhm.
I was gonna say that the album name was Simply Poetry, but your first single was Love Hurts.
Yes.
And that back then was like, mind blowing because it was socially conscious. And I think it was one of the first records that addressed, intimate partner violence, domestic violence. What was the reception of that?
Um, that song people still play that song today, especially during
Right.
domestic violence awareness. And as you know, Dee, that song was inspired by the situation with you and Dr. Dre. And
Mm,
um, and I
thank
too
you.
grew up with a little domestic violence in my home. It wasn't my dad.
Right.
With some of the relationships that my mother was in after my dad.
Hmm.
So I dealt with it firsthand. So a lot of the music, the song, the lyrics were based on true story. And then I was
Right.
fortunate enough to get Def Jeff and Almighty and Coogee Rap on the song to also share their experiences with domestic violence.
That was so amazing that you got, prominent male rappers involved with it too. There was no hesitation what was that conversation like when you said, this is the song, this is the concept, will you participate? What was that conversation like?
I mean, I think male or female, we've all dealt with some form of abuse, whether
Right.
it was inflicted upon ourselves or we were witness to it.
True.
So men as well. You know, I'm sure Jeff and Coogee Rap, they told their stories in the song.
Right.
And their experience. So somehow every person is connected or have witnessed some type of
Mhm.
abuse in their lives. There's
Yeah.
really no way around it unless you're living in a bubble.
Right. Right. I want to thank you for that song because that right there just opened up my mind to a lot of other possibilities. Was that the catalyst for you to be more socially conscious? Like, because I know you do a lot of stuff for the community. Was that like the catalyst for you to be more involved with community?
It wasn't really the catalyst because I think that I was always socially conscious
Yeah.
starting in high school. I was president of the BSU, so I was pretty much for the people, and I think that's an Aquarian thing,
Yeah, I
humanity.
think it is too. I think it is
You know,
too.
so I've always been socially conscious, especially really, really socially conscious starting in high school.
Right.
And that's what my music reflected across the board, is just
Hmm.
some type of social commentary.
Right.
That song
Hmm.
definitely cemented me in hip hop. I was topping college charts and doing a lot of radio and shows. So it definitely was a
Did you
song
do
I think
speaking?
a lot of people could relate to. Huh?
Did people have you come and speak to them, like, domestic violence shelters or organizations?
Not really so much focused on domestic violence, but I've definitely done a number of speaking gigs.
Right. Right. Um, what I wanted to ask about that was, do you feel like that type of socially conscious subject matter is missing from hip hop today? How do you feel about that?
But I think it's hidden. I'll just say that. I won't say that
Right.
it's missing. I think it's hidden because there
Yes.
is a lot of social music out there, socially
Mhm.
conscious music out there that just doesn't get and this has been probably the story throughout hip hop, just doesn't get the same mainstream attention. But
Right.
but it's out there, but you just kind of got to dig for it. A lot of it I found on accident or listening to a streaming channel that these great songs
Mhm.
popped up on. But they're there. I don't think it's missing. I think it's hidden. And hopefully enough people will start bringing the social commentary to the surface because back
Right.
when we started in hip hop, you can go back and listen to 80s and 90s hip hop and can tell what was going on socially
Exactly.
in that time. Now,
Yep.
when you hear a lot of the popular music, you don't so much, but
Yes.
it was more in the forefront, the consciousness of hip hop. It was more in the forefront. Our Public Enemies, even NWA, even though a lot of
Mhm.
people they had social commentary,
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
a little bit differently presented than maybe Public Enemy,
Oh
but it
no,
was
but they were
still,
presenting what really was happening out in the neighborhood. I just saw something recently with I don't know if you've seen Public Enemies or Chuck D's thing, Fight the Power. It's
oh
part of
yeah,
what's
excellent.
happening now. Oh, it's a great series. I'm only into the second one, and they were talking about how like a Chuck D was on a global level of what's going on globally, whereas on the West Coast, like Ice-T and NWA, they were talking about what's going on in the neighborhood. And I thought
Wow.
that was just like a perfect, synopsis of what was happening. Excuse me, they were telling you what's happening in the neighborhood. So you're right. They did, do that. I just think I agree with you. I think it is hidden because I would love to hear some January 6th diss tracks. I would love to hear some stuff about what's
Yes.
going on in Congress. You know what I mean? And that's an interesting point that
Nipsey
you put
touched
out.
on it a little bit with FDT. I won't even say his
Oh,
name,
I
but
know that was that
so,
Nipsey Hussle and what's his name? This he did it. Who did he do the song with?
I think I want to say YG.
Yeah, I think it's YG.
Yeah,
Yes, I mean, and that was perfect. I think if
man.
Nip, yeah,
I think that it's hidden. I think people are probably doing songs about what's going on today, but they're just not seeing the light of day. You know that media
right.
controls everything, so they're probably not going to put out too many conscious records because they want to keep people dumb, deaf, and blind. So,
True, true. Oh yeah, we can go, yeah, we from back in the day for sure. For
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So with this anniversary of the 50th anniversary of hip hop, what are you doing to celebrate it?
I'm going to
Anything in
be
particular?
producing a podcast,
Nice.
and just kind of telling my history. It'll be my history interwoven with hip hop history and then the social history that was going on at that time. So I have a lot of
Right.
archives that I want to share.
Oh
I don't I don't
wait,
want
hold
to.
on. I want to get into your archives in a minute. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back right here on the frequency with the Poetess.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us.
We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Back right now with the Poetess. We were just talking about the celebration of Hip Hop 50 and what you're doing to celebrate it. And I know you're a hip hop historian. A lot of people might not know this. I mean, they should if they've seen your interviews. But tell me again what you're doing and what you're doing with your archives.
I plan to release, I'm working on a book, but I plan to release a serial podcast that just kind of documents primarily the West Coast history in hip hop, because
Right.
that doesn't, we hear the West Coast history, but we haven't really heard it in depth. And
Yes.
because I've interviewed a lot of the West Coast pioneers, I just really want to get it out there. I mean, it's a shame that I've sat on it this long, but there's a time for everything. And now that it's Hip Hop 50, what better time to release some of the archives that I've collected over the years?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, I do the same thing. I have archives too, and I've been trying to figure out what to do with them. And I really wanted to do something in regards to pump it up and show the history of the show. It's been difficult pushing the project, but I'm gonna keep it moving. I'm gonna keep it going. But
yourself, or I mean, there's a lot of outlets, Dee, that you can definitely explore. We can talk about that off air, but
yeah.
But yeah, I would only say now just start transferring your stuff digitally. Both of us
preserve it.
sets and tapes and that stuff.
Yep.
Interior.
I got to share the story. The one time you invited me up to the studio and I brought the crew and we were in there, chatting away at a late night show, and Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. comes in introducing his new single, Juicy. And we didn't even know who he was. We didn't even know who he was.
Walking around the studio like
and then I love it because the crew got us. At one point, the crew got us talking while the interview was going on. Like, we listened to the introduction of the song and we were vibing to the song, and then we were like, "Okay, what you doing this weekend?" Whoop. And we didn't even know, but we have.
Yeah.
Say it again.
I said Biggie turned out to be one of hip hop's biggest superstars. And I ran into him a few times after that, and he go, "You don't remember me?" And I'm like, "I do, but I didn't know you remembered me." But he was at the studio, and you have that captured on film.
Yes, and we're there, and we have a lot of moments like that. I know you have a lot of moments like that too. And I think, being women in hip hop, I think we are like the storytellers. Like, we document. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of men out there that document too. Shout out to Matt McDaniels doing his thing with his archives. But I think as women, we document it, and it's up to us really to tell the story and preserve it for the next generation. Yeah. Which go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, everybody has a story, and somehow those stories do inspire people in one way or another. So, but because we were definitely in the mix at sort of the early stages of hip hop, I think we definitely have a story that people want to hear and know about,
Right. And it needs to be told. Well, I want to congratulate you on just your whole career trajectory. I watched you from, MC to radio broadcaster to now your own company, Morris Media. So I want to get into that right now. I mean, that's right. Whoop, represent. I want to get into that. You being a Black businesswoman, like, I know that wasn't an easy road for you. So please break down the steps on how you made your business.
I've been in radio over 30 years, and the landscape of radio has changed. And
how has it changed? How has it changed?
People are the internet, the internet. satellite radio. I've been on every platform, radio platform that had terrestrial radio, satellite radio, now internet radio.
Wow.
I decided that after my last gig, I worked the Foxhole. I was producer for Jamie Foxx's The Foxhole on Sirius XM.
You
And
worked as a producer with, wait, hold up, back up. You worked as a producer with Jamie Foxx? Tell me that. Tell me about that,
that was
please.
the best job ever. I mean,
Really?
me and Jamie have been friends over 30 years. And when he invited me to be a part of his network, of course, I was like, yeah. And
Yeah.
it was the best job ever. I produced
Mhm.
5 radio shows on his network and worked closely with him on his and actually co-hosted with him. So, but after that gig, I went through a part of struggling, and shout out to
Mm,
Sway, because Sway had my back. You know, he got me a couple gigs at MTV.
right.
But at that point, I just decided I didn't want to work for anyone. I didn't want to fill out a resume. I didn't want to do my resume. I didn't want to submit for jobs and all that. I was already in internet radio, already involved with podcasting, and I said, you know what? I want to start a studio. I mean, me and my former co-host at the Foxhole, we started a podcast after our gig ended at the Foxhole, and that
Mhm.
went viral, did really well. And then it was at that point I decided, was looking at building a studio. Me and my dad were actually commissioned to build a internet radio podcast studio, and
Wow.
managed it. My dad built it. And that went on for almost a year. And that didn't work out so well. And then that was the point right there. I said, you know what? I want to start my own studio. And thankfully, it is in the heart of Leimert Park in Los Angeles in the community. I couldn't
Wow.
have found a better location. Um,
Mhm.
so we've been
What
in
made
business.
you choose that location? Because that is great. What made you
I
choose
didn't
that one?
actually choose it. A friend of mine was like, "Hey, there's this building they're cleaning out down the street from me. You should go look for it." Because we had been looking all over LA, Culver City, Hollywood, etc., just for a space with
Right.
to fit a table and 5 mics. And she goes, "Come look at this place." And man, it was perfect. It
Yeah.
was actually a recording studio in the 90s. And what's crazy is I actually recorded there and didn't
No.
know that I had recorded there. And it was already soundproof. It was just plug and play.
It was meant for you.
It was meant for me. It was waiting for me. Yes. And we've
Wow.
been
What did
there
you
going
record
on,
there previously?
huh?
What did you record there previously?
I was working with a songwriter named Mary
Mm.
Lange, and we composed songs together. She was also a songwriter, and she was conscious, and she wanted me to come in and do a song on this project she was working on, and I came in, and I actually have the video of
Wow.
when I did that recording in that studio 30 years ago. So it was just crazy. And so now we're going on our 9th year in August that we are in
Congratulations.
business, and we've worked with everybody in our studio from
Hmm.
Tiffany Haddish, Kathy Hughes, T.I. and Tiny,
Wow.
a slew of comedians, Guy Torrey, J. Anthony Brown, just so many. So we've been blessed to have the support and the love of the community, mainly the
Right.
community that we serve.
Hmm.
Everyday people are able to come in and record content for their
Right.
platforms or their businesses, etc.
It's in the same area where Nipsey Hussle's store, the Marathon, is, right? You're the
It's
close
about a
vicinity.
mile away from there,
Hmm.
but it's right across the street from where the old K-Day used to be.
What?
Yep,
I didn't
right
realize
across
that, and
the
I've
street.
been there, but I didn't think
Actually,
about
the
that.
K-Day sign was still up there when I moved over there, but it's not there anymore.
What?
But it used to
KDAY.
be.
What's your memory from K-Day? Remember back in the
I
day?
used
What's
to be
one of your favorite memories?
intern slash babysitter.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think I might have even recorded a couple of those 976 numbers. So, but I
Yep.
was an intern for Russ Parr, and there was a few
Hmm.
times I was up at the radio station. I didn't have any recorded music out at that time because it was sort of like the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
But yeah, to have my business right across the street from where that iconic station was. And then I love Leimert Park. I've always been a part of that community since the good life, you know.
Yes. That's like, man, since the good life. Oh, you brought up the good life.
Yeah,
Oh,
since
I
South
miss those days.
Fellowship, Medusa, the West definitely has a beautiful underground group of MCs and B
Hmm.
boys and B girls and the whole.
Right. That goes back to what you were saying about documenting West Coast. Because, a lot of people don't know about it. Some people do. People that are really into the culture, they know. But
Yeah,
like on a broader scale,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I know you got some of
It's,
that.
it's our duty, Dee. It's our duty to
Yep.
tell these
I was just
stories.
saying
It's
that.
our duty to share the content we have because
Yep.
shout out to Chuck D. I ran into
Yes.
him at a
Mhm.
Roscoe's the other day, and he shared with
Oh,
me
yeah.
a new app he's working on. I don't know
Hmm.
how much I'm able to tell at this point, but
Right, right, right.
um, it's something great that's going to happen. And once
Of
he
course.
officially
Chuck
launches
D.
it, there'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
content there as well. So yeah, it's our duties as
I believe
um,
that.
the elders of hip hop to
Hello. We are now the
tell
OGs. Can
those
you
stories.
believe that?
Oh, geez, I know, right?
We are now the OGs just because we celebrated Hip Hop 50, but the reality is now we're the OGs. So, like you were saying, it's our duty to educate,
Yeah,
elevate, you know what I
yeah,
mean, and pass it on. I was just talking about that with someone else about the fact that a lot of like we know the founding fathers of hip hop, but we don't know the matriarchs. Like you can't rattle their names off. The MC Shyrock, Debbie D, Lisa Lee, Mercedes Lady, Sequence. Like we should know this. Women,
mm,
female rappers should know their names. You know what I mean? So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make sure they know their names, and so it's
yeah.
up to us
The
to
first
to.
female rapper to really start me was Sweet Tea. You know,
Hmm.
T. When I heard her, I was like, I like her, I love her. And then of course Queen Latifah and MC Light and
Right.
all those.
Uh-huh. Moni Love. Moni was in the doc too, but Missy, you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Missy Elliott
yeah.
love it.
Women have
Yeah,
women make this hip hop world go round. There's a lot
that's
of
right.
even behind the scenes and managers and executives and people that you may never have heard of have been very instrumental in the success and the longevity of hip hop.
That's right. That's right. Hold on, we're gonna take a break and we're gonna come back and talk more about how instrumental women are in the culture of hip hop. We'll be back. The Frequency.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Back right now on the Frequency with the Poetess. We're talking about hip hop culture and how women in particular have been, instrumental in since the beginning of the culture. And it's something that we as female and, women in the culture should elevate other women and talk
Mm-hmm.
about it more. Back with the Poetess. You were just saying something I wanted to elaborate on as far as talking about the
Women
culture.
behind the scenes,
Yeah,
executive.
women behind the scenes. Let's
Yeah.
talk more about that because everybody think about, the artists, but we have for example, journalists, hip
Mhm.
hop journalists.
Yeah.
You know, what's rap pages? Just thinking about rap pages
Shout out
and
to
how that
Sheena
was written.
Lester.
Huh? Talk about it.
Shout out to Sheena Lester.
That's right. That's
Bestie.
right. Shout out to Sheena, and because she ran that.
Yeah, she was
Um,
actually the editor in chief of Rap Pages. And at that time, there weren't very many female editors in chief doing hip hop magazines. And one thing I could say when she was at the helm, that she ran it very ethically, and
mhm.
and people were on the covers of the magazine who deserved to be on the covers.
Right. As a matter of fact, shout out. Hold on. You said Sheena put me on my first cover. Thank you, Sheena.
Yeah,
Little shout out.
we did the story. Was it with Sister Soldier? Was it that story, or was another time?
No, that was another one. That was a roundtable we did with Sister
Yeah,
Soldier, and I think Yo-Yo was there too. We
yeah.
talked about some things. No, Sheena put me on the cover, and we talked about the show Pump It Up. As a matter of fact, we're circling back to Chuck D. In the there was a shot of a TV, and then in the TV she put Chuck D and Flavor Flav. It was like Public Enemy. It was dope. I
Yeah,
still have mine. I still have my copy.
yeah.
Um,
And she really did a great job. Great journalist work.
mhm.
Sent me out on
Yeah,
assignments, and it was women were really doing their thing back then too. So
exactly. We have dancers, choreographers, stylists, you know, directors of videos. We don't even talk about that. Yeah, there's so many, and that's why I'm so happy that we are celebrating women and women in hip hop in particular, and we're able to tell their stories, and they're able to be around to tell their stories too.
hmm
And then we get to elevate the ones that are no longer here. Because I've been thinking about MC Trouble for a while now, just thinking about her and her legacy, where she would
G.
be.
Wow,
Huh?
like Hurricane G.
Hurricane G. We just lost Gangster Boo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's up to us definitely to tell their stories and make sure their legacy lives on. And speaking of legacies, I want you to get what advice would you give young women coming up that want to do, to want to achieve big things, say they want to do, career on the mic, or, recording artists, or maybe they want to start a business. How would you advise them in finding their voice to do that?
Stay inspired. Try not to be discouraged. What other people say is their opinions. If you know in your heart that this is your purpose and this is what you want to do, by all means, do it. Study,
Right.
learn your craft. Be
Mm.
true to yourself. Don't get caught up with thinking you have to sleep with anybody
Mm.
to get in position. You don't,
Right.
unless you want to.
Hey,
I'm
I love it.
But yeah, stay true to yourself. Stay focused.
Hmm.
There's gonna be some hard times. There's gonna be times where you think this is not gonna work. Even in my own personal journey, I struggled. I couldn't
Right.
buy myself any shoes. I couldn't get my nails done. There was times that I lived in my studio for a whole year because I couldn't
Wow.
pay my bills. It looks all glamorous on the outside, but there's real struggle in achieving your goals. And
Hmm.
when you get to where you want to be, and when you've achieved your goals, it's really worth all of that struggle. So there's going to be struggle. There's going to be challenges, but keep moving. I always say when you take one step, the universe moves you up 10. So you got to just
Right.
keep moving toward it, whatever it is, no matter how bad things may look. Keep
Hmm.
moving toward that dream because you can make it. The only thing stopping you is you.
Yes.
Get a
Yes.
mentor, get
So true.
someone, shadow someone. I
Hmm.
did. I had some really good female mentors that allowed me to follow them. Shout out to Legia Lot. And Kathy Hughes.
Kathy Hughes. Tell me about Tell people about Kathy Hughes if they're not familiar, because she's
Well,
big,
Kathy
big.
Hughes owns TV One and Radio One, probably the largest Black broadcasting company in the United States. Mrs. Hughes started out in humble beginnings, but now I think she owns over 40 radio stations across the country, and she has her own TV network.
Right.
And I had the pleasure of working with her, and
Yes.
actually getting to know her on a personal level and just seeing her move. Sometimes you might not even get to meet these people, but watch how they move, listen to their story, be inspired. So
in those times where you were struggling, like what kept you going? Like what inspired you, lit your fire? Like it was like, I'm not going to give up.
Once I realized that this was my divine calling and my purpose, because I stressed in the beginning, because I was raising funds, trying to get people to invest, trying to get people, and I have a lot of millionaire friends that didn't give me a dime, but I wasn't bitter about that, because this is my dream. It's not their dream. They probably even understand what I was trying to do. So you don't get bitter, because no one owes you nothing at the end of the day. Okay.
Right.
You have to, what kept me going was I knew that I had to do this. Once I started and got really into it and got the building, my dad was like, you into it now to give up. And I stressed in the beginning, but once I saw that every month, the money somehow came in and a check here or something happened here, and it just kept going. I knew it was my purpose, so I didn't worry as much anymore. But you got to keep working. You can't say, oh, okay, everything's going to be all right, and then you sit back. No, you got to keep going towards your goal. And I just never once had a doubt or felt like I'm going to give up. I never felt that in this whole journey, even when I didn't have money to do anything but invest into my company.
Yeah, that's that confidence right there. You just keep striving, and faith. It's also
keep
faith
going.
too.
You don't have to. You can't give up when you think times are hard. You might have to switch your plan up.
Yeah, make sacrifices.
Give up. That just means switch your plan up.
Exactly.
It's okay to try something else.
Where do you want to take your business? You silly.
Yeah,
where do you want to see your? Wait, say it again. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, you can try a bunch of things, and whatever you're happy with, that's what you, at the end of the day, it's all about being fulfilled. It's all about being happy and doing what you love, because we only have so much time on this little rock. And so make the best of it. Yeah.
Okay. Where do you want to see your business go? Where do you want to take Morris Media Studios? What level? What's the next level?
The next level is creating content. We don't actually create very much content. We just rent the studio out and teach people how to podcast and help them, create their content. So I would like to create a network with content that we produce. Also, I would like to spread out to different locations around the country. Maybe some kind of chain where people, because not everybody has access to record podcasts, maybe in the major cities and stuff like that. So maybe spread out. And then the location that we're actually in, I'd like to see that become a media academy for the young people in that community.
Wow. So you want to turn it into basically a school?
Yeah. Originally, my dad and our original vision for that place was to make it where people can come learn radio and podcasting. So for that particular location, because of course we want to expand and move into another location. So we do want to make that a space where kids can learn how to create content and make a living doing it. So, and then, they always have these programs for kids to be in sports, but Lamert Park is really stepping its game up. We got Tech Lamert, we got Destination Crenshaw, and so we got all these programs that are going on in Lamert Park. So I want to make our space eventually become a learning center for young people.
Yeah, well, that's beautiful, man. I love that. I love the idea of that. And you actually teach courses on how to do podcasts.
Yeah, we teach people how to do podcasts because, everybody thinks, even with radio, when I was in radio, people thought you just get on the mic and start talking. No, there's really a method to the madness. Everything is produced, no matter how unorganized or crazy it seems.
Right.
There's production involved. And so
even the technical aspect of it too, you teach that too?
Yeah, if people want to come in and learn the technical aspect, but what we teach basically is how to host, how to record, how to monetize, how to market your podcast, because everyone they think it's just recording and posting, and then you're wondering why you don't have any views or people checking your stuff out. There is a method to doing a podcast properly.
Okay. Well, I think we have covered everything there is to cover. I'm just so proud of you. I love what you've done with your whole career. I'm super proud that you have this business, Morris Media, because Black media matters.
Yes.
And, you own it. You own it. It's yours. And I think that's important. It's something that it shows an example of what you can achieve. And people know you as the Poetess, but they didn't know your history. And I mean, they will though. They will, especially when you do your own documentary. They're going to know it all. They're going to know it all.
I want to say congratulations to you, Dee. I'm glad you're doing one of the things you do best. And if there's any way I can support you in your endeavors, I'm here. So.
Thank you. I appreciate you. It's been a little bumpy. I'm a little rusty, but I'm getting back in it.
You're a natural, so you'll pop real fast. So.
Well, thank you, Poetess. I appreciate you. MC, recording artist, hip hop historian, radio broadcaster, legendary.
Love you, Dee.
Poetess.
Love you.
Love you too, sis. Thank you. All right, y'all. Thank you for tuning in with The Frequency. We had the Poetess celebrating the legacy hip hop 50. I'm enjoying it, y'all.
I'm Faraji Muhammad, live from LA. And this is The Culture. The Culture is a two-way conversation. You and me. We talk about the stories, politics, the good, the bad, and the downright ugly. So join our community every day at 3 p.m. Eastern and let your voice be heard. Hey, we're all in this together. So let's talk about it and see what kind of trouble we can get into. It's The Culture. Weekdays at 3, only on the Black Star Network.
Well, there you have it. That was my first guest in the Legacy series for celebrating Hip Hop 50. Thank you so much to the Poetess Felicia Morris for sharing your story with us. And thank you for tuning in to The Frequency right here on the Black Star Network. I'm Dee Barnes. I'll catch you next time.